Welcome to Cepher Commentaries. This is Dr. Stephen Pidgeon. I'm going to be talking today about Genesis chapter 1. In the beginning, Elohim created at the heavens and at the earth. And the earth became desolate, and a ruin and destruction was on the face of the depth, on the face of the waters. And Elohim said, I caused there to be light, and light came to be. And Elohim saw the light, that it was good. And Elohim made distinction between the light and between the darkness. And Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And he caused the sun to set and caused the sun to rise. Day one. Okay, so this is the new rendition of the Cepher that is now coming forward with the Millennium Edition, the new amended Millennium Edition, or the name. And we're going to be dealing for me to take on, and I'm going to try to take it on in a short discussion here of only 30 minutes. In the beginning, Elohim created at the heavens and at the earth. Now, these are 7 incredibly important words in the Hebrew. Bere'shiyth bara Elohim et hashamayim uet haaretz. And these 7 words have a tremendous amount of meaning, and we're going to take a look at some of those things right now. If true, is that when you look at a passage that has a Hebrew foundation like this, you want to try to determine by the use of the prefixes and the suffixes as to whether or not it's in past tense or present tense. And this tends to actually reflect a present tense in the passage, at least in one analysis. But when we look at it from its plainness, prefix meaning in, Bere'shiyth, beginning, in is, but one of the straightforward meanings of bara is creator. And this is a present tense form, a creator. And while talking about this is the root of the word barak, or even baruch. May the Creator be with you, or may the Creator be upon you. May the Creator be within you. Baruch or barach. This comes from the word bara. Now we see also this word Elohim. Now, Elohim is the correct pronunciation. There is no O in it. And when we look at Elohim, many people look at this and they say, oh, well, this is an indication that the gods created the heavens and the earth. But this is not reflected by the word Elohim. And in fact, we've got so many things that go on with this word Elohim that I'm going to have to deal with them one by one. Now, I'm going to start with the idea that this is not a masculine plural of the word El. This is something else entirely, and I'll show you what I mean. When we look at the plain meaning of the word, we see Aleph, Lamed, He, Yod, Mem, Elohim. Now, this spelling is very straightforward, but it's showing you a number of things. First of all, the Aleph Lamed, which is usually construed as El, as in El Elyon or El Shaddai, or any of these other phrases that you see starting with the El, such as Elohim, Elohim, Eloheyu, Elohenu, etc. This Aleph Lamed presents the Aleph as really the sheep head. I used to think it was an ox head, but it's not. It's a sheep head. And it is the head of the goats, if you will. It's the chief goat over the flock. And it represents the ultimate authority in the singular expression of the Creator. The Lamed, on the other hand, is the shepherd's staff. It even looks like a cricket staff, the shepherd's staff. And this is symbolic of the manifestation of Mashiach on the earth. And so we see the authority of heaven and the shepherd on earth being expressed in the word El. Now, the Hayim part is another interesting part because you have the word He, or the letter He, and the letter He is often construed as meaning the breath, as in the breath, and we're going to see that in the word Abraham or in the word Sarah, where we see the He being expressed. Well, the He here is an indication of the breath of Yah. And this means in the Hebrew, the ruach, or in the Greek, the pneuma. But either way, both of those mean the breath of Yah. And so, and we see the breath of Yah. Now, this may be what's in the plural, ayim, ayim. So the he now is going to have a masculine plural on the ending, indicating that the ruach has a plurality in its expression, which is true. You can see this in Isaiah 11:2, where we talk about the 7 ruachot of Yahweh, the ruach Yahweh, the ruach chokmah, the ruach bina, the ruach etzah, the ruach gevarah, the ruach da'at, and the ruach yirah, constituting the ruach Yahweh. So here are the 7 ruachot of Yah expressed in 11:2, which could be understood as a plurality. So you can kind of see in the word Elohim, the Father, the Son, and the plurality of the ruachot in the 7 expressions found in Isaiah 2. So this would be the plurality of Yah in his singularity, creating the heavens and creating the earth. All right, that's one understanding. Now, another understanding is that if we took the El and we separated it from the Hayim may also mean something entirely different too. In other words, the Hayim could mean not the Ruach HaKodesh or even attachment to the word El, but rather a separate word, Hayam, which is He Yod Mem, which means the sea. In the beginning, El created the sea, et the heavens and at the earth. Now, this is a possible meaning. However, given the use of the Aleph Tav twice in this expression, which in addition to pointing out the beauty of the beginning from the ending in Mashiach saying, I am the Aleph and the Tav, we also see that this Aleph Tav is pointing out the direct object of the sentence. Created what? Elohim created what? Well, created the heavens, created the earth. Is there an et before the sea? Well, no, there isn't. There isn't. So even though that meaning is a possibility in the Hebrew, it probably is not likely. Now, there's another aspect too, which is that the Elohim may not be the word Elohim at all, but may be a series of prefixes. And here we see the Aleph meaning I will be, the Lamed meaning to, the He meaning the. These are all prefixes in the Hebrew. And then we have the word Yam, the sea. So when you look at the word bara being created in the past tense, but also meaning creator in the present tense, in the beginning, a creator, I will be to the sea, at the heavens, and at the earth. This is the deepest sod meaning of Genesis 1:1. And it does have a possibility, and it does have a potential possibility of being something present there, although it's, again, it's a deep meaning. And when you see the next passage, that destruction was on the face of the depths and the breath of Elohim moved on the face of the waters, it indicates that there was, in fact, a sea created on the face of the waters. In fact, when we look at the word waters, the word between sea, waters, and heaven is closely connected. You're going to see, for instance, that the word sea is yam, yod mem. And when you see the word water, you see the word mayim, which is mem, yod mem, which the mem being a prefix means from, yam being the word sea, from the sea. So water is from the sea, mem, yod mem, mayim, from Yam, the sea. Shamaim, on the other hand, is, you might call it chaos or even storming of the waters. So you have the shin, then you have the mem, yod mem, shamaim. And so all three of these are very closely related concepts. The sea, the water, and the heavens all come from Yam, Mayim, Shamayim. All right. Now, when we get into Genesis 1:2, and the earth became desolate and a ruin. Now, this is totally consistent with the underlying Ivrit that we see there. And in the underlying Ivrit, we have these two very curious words that appear in this passage, which is tohu and bohu. I found these words to be very interesting because, again, we have the use of prefixes in both cases. We have the tav prefixing the word hu, and then we have the beit and the he preceding the word hu. So you can see that, just the beit preceding the word hu. So you have the tav, which means you shall in a prefix, and the bo meaning in. And so one of the deep understandings of this passage is that, and of the earth you shall grieve and be in grief, as destruction is on the face of the depths and the breath of Elohim moves on the face of the waters. Now, again, this is construing the Genesis 1:1 and Genesis 1:2 in the present tense, which is possible given the prefixes and the suffixes that we find on the root words. So I'm just going to throw this out. This is not what's written in the passage, but it's what could be written in the passage, that in the beginning, a creator, I will be to the sea, at the heavens, and at the earth. And of the earth you shall grieve and be in grief, for destruction is on the face of the depths, and the breath of Elohim moves on the face of the waters. Okay, it's a concept. It's not what's written, but it is a concept concerning these first two passages. Now, how about verse 3? And Elohim said, I caused there to be light, and light came to be. Now, this is a difficult passage because in the Hebrew here, you see Vayemer Elohim, Yahi or V'yahi or. Yahi or is how the King James interpreter said, let there be light. V'yahi or, and there was light, is how they interpreted that. But the passage is identical, Yahi or and Yahi or. And this Yahi is a word that is not described in Strong's Concordance or in Brown Driver Briggs. They don't recognize the word. And what it is the word Yah, I am, with the suffix yod, meaning mine or my I am, my essence, my nature. This is what this is. And when you see my nature, you can kind of understand that when in respect of the word light, that you're talking about my nature was light, my nature is light. There's another way that this passage could have been understood. And Elohim said, my nature was light and my nature is light. One way of putting it. This is a very critical passage because this light is going to exist before there is a sun and a moon. Although arguably, when you see this passage where it says in the next passage, and Elohim saw the light that it was good, and Elohim made distinction between the light and the darkness. Now, this is a very interesting point because John 1:1 is going to tell us that, or John 1:4, I believe it is, that the light shines through the darkness, but the darkness does not comprehend it, because there is a distinction between the light and the dark. The darkness, the light cuts through the dark. It does not attach to the darkness. So the darkness is not modified by the light. The darkness is split up or cut up by the light. And Elohim called the light day, and the word there is yom. Elohim called the light yom, or day, and the darkness he called lila, or night. And he caused the sun to set, that would be the word erev, and he caused the sun to rise, boker. Now, it says in this passage here, it does not say Yom Rishon, the first day. It says Yom Echad, day one, not the first day, day one, Yom Echad. Okay, so again, looking at this passage, when we see that he called the light day and he called the darkness night, and in verse 4, he distinguished between the light and the dark. Now, this means that there was already something going on here in terms of light and darkness. When we try to understand, when we get later on in this passage about the creation of the sun and the moon and so forth, well, let's get to it and we'll see. But I want you to know, first of all, that when we talk about 1:3, Elohim said, I caused there to be light, and light came to be. I think this is a very good way to put it, because we're talking about, I caused there to be. My essence is. And so in respect of the essence of Yah, in respect of a thing, this is a causation effect, right? Yahi or, my essence caused light, and my essence causes light, or light came to be. I think is a good way to understand it. Okay, now get into verse 6. And Elohim said, I caused there to be an expanse amid the waters, and I will make a distinction of the waters from between the waters. Now, again, once again, the word here in the Hebrew is Yahi. I caused there to be an expanse, Yahi, amid the waters. And again, where did the waters come from if the sea had not been created? We see the heavens, Shamaim, and we see the earth being created initially, right? The very first thing that happens is the heavens and the earth are created. Okay, great. So the heavens and the earth are created. Now what? But there is something that has got waters everywhere because the breath of Elohim is over these waters. And Elohim says, I caused there to be an expanse amid the waters. Okay, so let's just assume that what we're talking about here with Mayim from the sea, that there was initially a sea. What is this sea? Well, let's call it a dark expanse, the depth of nothingness, the depth of, well, there was something, there was Yam, it was there, Mayim is there, amid the waters. And he caused there to be an expanse amid the waters. This expanse between the waters is everything we see in the heavens. It's every constellation, it's every sun, it's every wandering star, it's everything we see in the heavens is the expanse. It's not a rakia where you think it's some kind of a finite thing. It's not. This is all of the extent of creation is called the expanse or the rakia. And he's going to make a distinction of the waters between the waters. And Elohim made the expanse and separated the waters under the expanse from the waters above the expanse, and it was so. Now, this could also give you a detail, and I think there's a pretty good understanding of this in the physics world, at least Einstein thought so, that the expanse is in fact finite. And there's reason to believe it's finite because Genesis 1 opens up with the word in the beginning. That means that it has a beginning. And if it has a beginning, it likely has an end. In the beginning, this is indicating that what we see in terms of the expanse is, in fact, a finite thing. And if it's a finite thing, then that means that there is some edge to that perimeter. And that edge is going to be distinctive between one group of waters and another group of waters. And Elohim called the expanse heaven, Shemaim. He did not call the expanse earth. He called the expanse heaven. And he caused the sun to set and caused the sun to rise day 2. So here you're talking about a Yahi Erev. This is a very important understanding that when you see this idea that he caused the Erev, Yahi, and he caused the Boker, he caused the Erev and he caused the Boker, there is something going on here that is distinguishing a sunrise and sunset over the earth that is before we have this division that takes place on the 4th day. There is something happening here. The earth has been created. There is a sunrise and there is a sunset on day 1. There is a sunrise and a sunset on day 2. Something is going on here. Okay. Verse 9, and Elohim said, bind the waters under the heaven in one place, and you shall see that I have established dry ground. And Elohim called the dry ground earth, and the gathering of the waters he called seas, or yamim. And Elohim saw it as good. And Elohim said, I caused the earth to bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, the fruit yielding fruit after its kind, and whose seed is within itself upon the earth. And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass, and the herb yielding seed after its kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after its kind. And Elohim saw it as good. And he caused the sun to set and caused the sun to rise day 3. Now, what's critical about this particular set of verses here is that the seed was within itself. And so you had grass, the herb yielding seed after its kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was within itself after its kind. So this is giving you a discussion of DNA inside the plant life. And that this DNA is going to be something that is going to specify the kind of herb or the kind of tree that you're going to be dealing with. It has a specific DNA, and it is replicating itself after its kind. And he saw this as good. This is going to be an extremely important point. You're going to see later on in the world that we have been manipulating the DNA of everything including what they call, GMOs, genetically modified organisms, right? That means the DNA has been modified to create something new that almost all GMOs don't have a seed inside of themselves. You have a GMO, that's it. It grows once, that's it. You're done. You're going to need a new seed for next year because it does not yield a seed. So a genetically modified organism is something distinct and something quite weird. And it is not what Elohim said was good. He said that these things following after their kind was good. All right. Now, we get to verse 14. And Elohim said, I caused lights in the expanse in the heavens to the dividing of the day from the night, and they are for signs and for appointed feast and for days and for years. And they are for lights in the expanse of the heavens to give light upon the earth. And it was so. Okay. So now this is something that's going on that is not necessarily the creation of light, but rather the lights have been caused by Elohim in the heavens to divide the day from the night. Okay. So something takes place here that is not necessarily the creation of light or even the creation of the sun and the earth. And Elohim, let's see what it says here. Just a minute. Hold on. And Elohim made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. And he made the stars also. Now, this does not necessarily indicate that he created these things on this day, but rather he made one to be a greater light. He made one to be a lesser light and also the stars to shine. And Elohim gave in the expanse of the heavens light upon the earth and to rule in the day and in the night and to divide between the light and between the darkness. And Elohim saw it as good. And he caused the sun to set and caused the sun to rise day 4. Okay, so we've had this language of Erev and Boker in day 1, day 2, day 3, and day 4. We've had Erev and Boker in all of these. The distinguishment that we get in here into day 4 is that Elohim gave the expanse of the heaven light upon the earth to rule the day and the night and to divide between the light and between the darkness. So there is a division now that is going to take place specifically on the earth. So what is created on the 4th day is not necessarily the sun and the moon, but rather the division between light and day because of the functionality of the greater light and the lesser light and the stars also. Because their functionality now is going to be developed, that it's going to rule in the day and rule into the night and divide between light and between darkness. That's what's going on. Because otherwise, how do you justify the fact that there was a sunset and a sunrise in day 1 and in day 2 and in day 3 and in day 4? And Elohim said, I caused the waters to bring forth abundantly the moving creature that has life and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open expanse of heaven. And Elohim created great dragons. And by the way, the word dragon does appear here. The word is tanin in the Hebrew, and it is understood as dragons. And Elohim created great dragons and every living creature and ate every living creature that moves, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and ate every winged fowl after its kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply, fill the waters of the seas, and let the fowl multiply in the earth. And he caused the sun to set and caused the sun to rise day 5. And again, here we go. On the 5th day, creating the fishes in the sea and the fowl in the skies after their own kind. And this after their kind, again, is a DNA specification that the DNA is going to be directing these particular living beings to function and to replicate along a specific line without modification. Very important. Okay, now let's get into after day 5, day 6. And Elohim said, I caused the earth to bring forth the living creature after its kind. Again, here we see DNA specificity, cattle and creeping things, and the beasts of the earth after its kind. And it was so. And Elohim made the beasts of the earth after their kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creeps upon the earth after its kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. Now, here we get into the passage that has been so difficult for a lot of people, but here it is. And Elohim said, we shall make man in our image after our likeness, and they shall have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, over the cattle, over the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. Okay, now here you see, we have this discussion. It's in the plural in the Hebrew. We shall make man in our image and after our likeness, and they shall have dominion over the fish of the sea. Okay, Verse 27, so Elohim created man in his image. In the image of Elohim, he created him. Male and female, he created them. Now, we had a vibrant discussion about this and this last week. And in this discussion, there was this idea that man was created hermaphroditic in this particular occasion, male and female in the same being. And I don't think that's the case. And the reason why is because it says he created them. Male and female, Zakar and Nekeba, were created by Elohim. So Elohim created man in his image, and in the image of Elohim, he created him. Male and female, he created them. Now, when you look at the terms Zakar and you look at the word Nekeba, these are distinguishing characteristics that give you an idea that it was not hermaphroditic in a single person, but two persons. Why? Because Zakar is the male, one who remembers, and Nekeba is the female, one who is pierced or wounded. So there is a big distinguishment between the female and the male here in this description in Genesis 1, right? And so, I mean, the question is, are there organs that are functioning that distinguish between a man and a woman in this particular case, in a male and female? And I think given the meaning of Zakar and Nekeba, yes, the answer is yes, that this was two separate beings created by Elohim. And Elohim blessed them, and Elohim said to them, be fruitful and multiply, replenish the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the air and over every living thing that moves upon the earth. And Elohim said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed on the face of all the earth, every herb bearing seed on the face of the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit, of a tree yielding seed, to you it shall be for food. And to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creeps on the earth in which there is life, and at every green herb as food. And it was so. And Elohim saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And he caused the sun to set and caused the sun to rise, day 6. Okay, so this is a very short analysis of Genesis 1. And I wanted to show you what is here, to put your mind to thinking, and give a little bit of thought about this. I'm going to be following this with commentaries on the rest of Genesis and try to get this the book of Genesis accomplished as quickly as possible. And but as you can see, we have some very serious issues that have to be considered. One is, it's not the first day, second day, third day, fourth day. It is day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. Number one. Number two, in distinguishing the day, do we understand how the day is distinguished? Well, I don't know, except that there is an Erev and a Boker described in each one of those days, which, when to understand the Boker, you often would say, Boker Tov, good morning, or Erev Tov, good evening. But this is describing something that is taking place in the heavens. That is to say, a sunrise and a sunset. Now, recently a friend of mine said, well, look, the light was created, Yahi-or v'Yahi-or, in Genesis 1:3, and it was created sometime after what would be the sunrise. So you had, let's call it, 9 a.m., the light was created. The light was created at 9 a.m., therefore the first thing to come is going to be the Erev, then the night, followed by the last thing to come would be the Boker, just before you started the new day. So his concept is that the day began, at least in Genesis, the day began when the light was fully above. And that is to say, when the sun was completely risen, that would mark the day. But all I can say to you is that's a theory. I'm not sure that I ascribe to that theory. But what I do ascribe to is the fact that the Boker and the Erev, or the Erev and the Boker, are described in all 6 days as occurring, which tells you that the idea of the sun and the moon and the stars being used to divide the night and the day on earth was something that took place when something was put in motion. It's possible that when the earth was put into motion, this is when we finally get the division between day and night and the sun and the moon. And that before that, the earth may not have been in motion. The earth was created on the very first day, but it may not have been in motion, creating day and light. I've also talked extensively about Genesis 1:14, about how the greater light, the lesser light, the stars also were to be used for signs, seasons, days, and years. And we're going to talk about that later on in terms of the 4 pillars of the earth. All right. So thank you for joining me on Cepher Commentaries. And this is Genesis 1:1.